The lotus as a symbol appears in abundance and develops in continuity, adapting to a multitude of meanings while transforming as Buddhism itself transforms from culture to culture. The origin of the lotus symbol can be traced back to the Egyptians, who venerated the lotus as a symbol of life and rebirth, as the sky god Horus was born from the lotus flower. The lotus in Hinduism represents the sun god Surya, lord of the lotus, father and king. The lotus was also a vehicle of the goddess Lakshmi, mother of the universe and Vishnu's consort. The goddess Lakshmi sits on the lotus as it represents the universal ground that holds deities as well as symbols. In the Vedas, it explains that the property of the lotus leaf is that of upholding all the worlds. The act of the lotus emerging from a navel could act as an umbilical cord, symbolizing the procreative aspects of the absolute. This concept of birth and the creation of life relates to the creeper lotus vines that emerge from the mouths of animals and the sexual organs of yakshis at the Sanchi and Bhairut stupa sites. Between 300 BC and 50 AD, at the Sanchi and Bhairut stupa sites, the Buddha is not represented. Instead, his ideas and teachings are brought about by aniconic images. These symbols reflect the Buddha's ideas and attribute a deeper meaning to them. Here, the lotus symbolizes the nativity scene of the Buddha, as well as the fertility of nature through vegetal reliefs. At Bhairut, sculptors were fond of depicting sites of aquatic life, fauna, and flora, because they appealed to the Indian sense of beauty and life. Countless lotuses appear as medallions, while curling vines appear on Vedika railings as they seem to generate all other living forms. Creepers issue forth from the mouths of animals and yakshis. This emergence motif can be traced back to the Indus Valley culture to Sanchi, where it is seen issuing forth from sexual organs of a yakshi figure, representing female fertility. Yakshis are shown here holding lotus stems, standing on lotus buds or in lotus medallions. Queen Maya is shown being bathed by the waters of nativity in a lotus motif. Elephants flank her side as they stand on lotus buds, symbolizing the life-giving force of nature. At Bhairut, she holds a lotus in her hand as a symbol connoting the Buddha's birth. In this way, the lotus itself can be seen as a womb. In Hindu religion, primeval waters bring the phenomenal form of Brahma, as well as the essence of enlightenment. At Sanchi and Bhairut, the lotus as a throne for the Buddha is not developed. This throne aspect for the Buddha takes form in the later Gandhara culture. In later depictions, the lotus is seen as a base for the Buddha, or as a handheld tribute in wall paintings or in relief carvings, usually held by a bodhisattva. The development of Gandharan style saw the use of the lotus as a throne, as well as the depiction of the Buddha in human form. The lotus base for the Shakyamuni Buddha relies on the symbolism of the lotus as an icon of purity and enlightenment. The lotus throne, standing high above the world and worldly desires, separates the Buddha from the impurity of humanity and suffering. Sitting on an open lotus represents a state of mind free from ignorance. The open lotus blossom itself depicts enlightenment, while a closed lotus can indicate that the subject holding or sitting on the lotus has the potential to achieve enlightenment but has not yet done so. One of the most beloved figures in Buddhism is Padmapani Bodhisattva, or the lotus-bearing Bodhisattva. This Bodhisattva, a figure of compassion, is most famously captured on the walls of Ajunta Cave 1. The gesture that the figure makes is called a Varada Mudra, or a gesture of compassion. With his eyes looking down in empathy and the lotus clutched in one of his hands, the image of the Bodhisattva represented in the painting lends itself to inspire feelings of admiration and empathy. The Padmapani Bodhisattva remained a well-loved figure because it is said that he chose to forgo enlightenment until humans had reached a state where enlightenment is possible for each individual. From Bhairut to Gandhara, the lotus has been considered a symbol within Buddhist art, perpetuating pre-Buddhist ideas of fertility and vitality. The lotus motif has appeared in the art of cultures around the world, morphing its representation but sustaining its core values in the process.